For a 5-year-old child, the home is the entire known universe. It is the sole, reliable safe harbor against the chaos of the outside world, where the adults inside are implicitly trusted to provide care and protection. But inside a residence in Hyderabad, Telangana, that inherent expectation of safety collapsed completely. The grim reality of that collapse surfaced in this report from the Times of India, detailing the brutal murder of a 5-year-old boy by his mother's live-in partner. Looking at this relationship mapping, we can visualize the fatal shift in the household. You have the established bond between the mother and the child. Then, a new variable enters the space, a live-in partner who disrupts that primary protective boundary. This introduces a critical point of friction. What happens when the incoming adult refuses to view the child as a member of a new, blended family and instead sees them as a logistical impediment? The introduction of a new partner instantly redistributes the domestic power dynamic. The child, entirely dependent, is stripped of agency, leaving them defenseless against whatever unstated intentions the newcomer brings into the house. Police isolated the exact motive driving this crime down to 5 distinct words: clear way for marriage. In criminology, this is classified as instrumental violence, the calculated use of harm to achieve a secondary, self-serving goal. Applying that framework here reveals a deeply chilling mindset. The perpetrator targeted the child specifically to remove a perceived barrier. The child was standing between the partner and his goal of an unencumbered marital union. Blending a family traditionally requires integration, patience, and the slow building of trust. The partner rejected that process entirely, opting instead for a pathological, violent shortcut. The 5-year-old's literal existence, their need for basic care and attention, was warped in the mind of the perpetrator into a transactional burden. It was a line item that simply had to be canceled. Even with the mother present, the standard maternal shield failed. The partner's intense, calculated focus on securing his marital objective bypassed the child's typical safety net, isolating the boy inside his own home. The defining horror of this specific case lies in that cold deduction. A grown man weighed the life of a 5-year-old against the convenience of an unburdened relationship and decided the child was worth less. Translating that abstract motive into physical action required an extreme application of force to completely erase the so-called obstacle from the home. The initial method reported was smothering. This is a terrifyingly intimate act of violence. It requires the perpetrator to maintain physical contact and actively, continuously ignore a victim's desperate struggle for life over several minutes. The report details a further escalation to beating the child to death, a pivot from silent suppression to active, explosive aggression. We have to consider the physical reality of this encounter. The sheer mass and biomechanical control of a fully grown adult male, stacked against the tiny, developing physiology of a 5-year-old, makes any form of defense a physical impossibility. Combining these two methods, smothering and bludgeoning, represents the absolute, cowardly extreme of physical dominance over a completely helpless target. The brutal irony of this crime is immediate. The violence executed to smooth the path toward a wedding has instead permanently replaced a marriage certificate with a murder investigation. Returning to our household mapping exposes the danger of the vulnerable third, a dependent minor at the mercy of a new adult's temperament. Violently removing this third doesn't leave a clean slate. It collapses the entire domestic structure into fracture and devastation. This tragedy highlights a persistent societal blind spot. We frequently underestimate the severe risk an unvetted adult can pose to a young child when abruptly granted access to a domestic space. A home only functions as a sanctuary when the adults inside it value a child's life above their own convenience.